I don't see any sense even digging into it.
I don't need it.
Not unless there's a considerable amount of money that.
They're gonna
They would have section two in there.
Yeah.
But I think the overall line backup value versus the savings, but
Did they give you any idea what kind of increase it was gonna be?
No, they couldn't do that unless I sent them.
Yeah, well, it's not worth the paperwork then probably, I wouldn't think.
Well, like I say, they're doing it for their financial benefit. We just keep it ourselves.
And I know some counties have done it, but I think they needed the money. Like they were gonna use that.
I bet it's
money
the
for
same
something.
company, isn't it?
Could be, I don't remember what the company
It is.
Well, those are the two things that I.
I would say at this time, we're not interested.
Oh, and did you guys make a decision on the signs for the freaking?
Spoke about it. Is that, do we pay for it? Or is that
Well-
a board decision?
Well, the problem is that it could have came out of the, grant dollars for the preparedness, except that has on the bottom there, we're also identifying that the Veterans Affairs is also in the building. And because of that,
We can talk about that later too. That's fine.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning.
Morning.
We're going to call this meeting to order. We need an approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Courtney?
I don't have anything.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Monday, July 11th minutes.
I thought they read well, and if there are no correction or additions to those minutes, I'll make a motion to approve them. The July 11th minutes.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First item on the agenda is to consider request from Templeton Ambulance Service. Good morning, Jamie. I think, did everybody get an email from Jamie explaining the situation?
Mhm.
Open it up for some discussion.
So Templeton's the only transport ambulance in the county that doesn't receive anything from the county. Manning, Grand Rapids and Breed all get basically $21,600 a year. Labeled as rent, and that goes towards their payroll, goes to the city. City handles the payroll, insurance, Manning handles the gas. Right now, we're kind of working with the work comp insurance stuff, but they approached me about getting basically about 20% of that, so they're looking for $6,000. That'll cover, they have training, they put in about 120 to 140 out man hours a year roughly, and then depending on calls and their training they can do. For the main person that runs that call, if they transport, that call is going to take them about 3 hours. That's 3 hours that if they have another job that they're supposed to be at, that they're missing out on payroll for that. Just something I feel strongly that we should help our responders out, especially the ones that are actually transporting. And I've talked with Scott Stephanie, and the whole dynamic of this is going to have to change soon. The number of volunteers that you can get is dwindling quickly. And the volunteers that we are willing to volunteer, more of the older generation where they're willing to do that. The newer generation doesn't seem to want to volunteer much. This kind of works in two parts to possibly, draw more people to volunteer and to retain the ones that are actually there.
Real quick, what was the numbers? I can't remember
As far as
that we're receiving back from that payment program.
the GEMT.
Mhm.
I just did a revision, or not a revision, but a review of that for the fiscal year 22. We made approximately $70,000 extra than what we would have normally made without it. So the total income was like 166. And then we had
Paid that 85 or 90.
it was 66,000 is what we paid, or roughly 66,000 is what we paid GMT and then some other expenses with it.
So can you offset that inside your budget with additional?
I mean, obviously, that's more money that we've received, so, it comes back into the budget, but. And those numbers will fluctuate, but, our numbers that we would get reimbursed from GMT are very similar every year.
But if we change that line item from rent to something else.
Good, but we call it rent because we don't want to call it
Like,
anything else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you run into trouble with the auditor probably,
Yeah.
if you call it something
Because
else. Yeah.
basically the county is saying we're reimbursing you rent to cover the cost of your building. And this stuff isn't covering the cost of the people, it's covering your facility.
Yeah,
So,
I have a problem.
so what
with
their
this.
plan is to utilize this to help pay for some of the volunteers down
right,
there.
they basically.
Reimburse some of their hours.
Yeah, I talked with Kenny, they want to pay so much per person per call. The main person will get X amount of dollars, the driver will get X amount of dollars. And then Jerry Behrens is kind of the leader of the group down there, so he'll get so much a month for doing all the paperwork side of it. And there's a lot that goes into it, you've got your training, you've got maybe monthly meetings. They keep up all their certifications, there's a lot more than just responding to calls that goes into it.
Well, I understand that. I was used to that.
Yep,
So are they getting anything at all
No,
right now?
right now they get nothing.
because
the only
they
satellite
have always
location.
been classified as a conditional transport.
Yeah, provisional paramedic.
Because they have to have certain staff on board in order to get. You say that they're doing about 21% of the calls to the rest.
Roughly, like their 20 or their average is about 20 calls a year. Right now they're at 15 already, so that's obviously gonna go up. Just like Medic 6, for example, in 2020, they had 124 calls, in 2021, they had 224. So all these numbers are going up, and with the population that lives in Templeton, I'm expecting it to go up quite a bit.
If we take those people on, do they go on our workers' comp?
No, the city of Templeton will take care of that. They'll take care of doing all the payroll, IFRS. The vehicles insured by the county, so anybody that drives that, they would be covered under that policy, but otherwise, the workman's comp, they've already agreed to take care of all that.
Manning's the only one.
So-
It's not,
Let me get this right. You're asking for some type of compensation to the city of Templeton. What
It's-
they do with that is their choice, not,
Right.
not ours.
Right,
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's real clear.
yeah,
Because a lot of other communities are paying their people
right.
and taking care of it. I just don't want to treat them any differently than any other community.
Right.
Now, is the ambulance being kept inside a building?
It's in the fire department now.
Okay.
So they would take care of housing it, and heating it, and the crew takes care of doing all the rig checks and stuff. Manning pays for their fuel for that ambulance, and that's only because they rarely ever come to Carroll. Templeton generally will come to Carroll. So they'll just fill up at the depot.
Well, part of their calls and Kelmas was also back up to man.
At times, yeah.
Yeah.
If they have a significant call and they'll call for Templeton to come down there. So they're responding to Manning. If we get in a situation here where all of our ambulances are busy, generally we call Medic 5 just because they're a little bit closer. But if Medic 5 is busy, then we go down to Medic 4.
Jamie, have you been watching the local fire departments? Are they struggling with people also?
Yeah, it's pretty much global or,
Yeah.
national.
I've seen that many years ago. I could just see that I've watched a lot of smaller communities just basically grouped together, and then now they're taking farmer, whoever can report,
Right.
and they'll take whoever they can.
Yeah, the old thing of when you call 911 and an ambulance shows up isn't always possible in some communities. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to avoid having that
I
happen
know.
here.
I know that's,
There's some counties in the state of Iowa that's really scarce.
and even with the new funding stream that they can
With that new
use,
legislation, yeah.
it's still an issue because of volunteerism. The volunteer may go to a paid employee That's what I can see in the future now.
Yeah, and I'm exploring options as far as that goes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
To make sure that there's coverage in the entire county and.
I'm afraid we're all gonna have to reinvent the wheel here pretty soon.
Right. Yeah, and that legislation that passed, just because it passed, that it still has to go through the vote. And, they made it to where it's nearly impossible to do it, but you can get it done. It's just, that's something else I'm looking at too,
Well, currently, don't they, whoever's taking the train has to pay for it, then you guys reimburse upon.
It depends on what it is. The CPR training, I've been in contact with the association, they're gonna possibly help with some of that. Otherwise, I have started, for some of the departments, paying for their CPR. We provide the training for them.
I'm talking like, let's say a first responder, or there's no such thing as first responder, EMT.
For their initial training.
Initial training.
Yes, there is some funding available through the association, but what a lot of places are doing are, if they're an EMT, they're going to paramedic, they'll pay for their paramedic schooling to get those people on board. Is
I
there,
think that's something we're gonna have to look at,
right,
because I think currently now most of them pay for it, and then get reimbursed.
some of them get reimbursed, like when I did mine, I think the association reimbursed me $1,000.
I think that's something we're gonna have to do to keep getting new people. We're
Well-
gonna be involved with.
What's our stipend to the other outlying areas?
That's $21,600 a year, so we pay
So
them,
that's getting less than a third of that.
we pay them $1,800 a month to the other three.
Yeah, that was 14 for a long time. And
Yeah, I
then
think
Yeah, we just went up.
Yeah.
Couple years ago.
2019 is when it went up to the. And I talked to Courtney about where to put it, this year, but basically we'll just continue to pay it out of the same budget line, and then we'll do a budget amendment later in the year.
Do we have any formal agreement? Signatures from other outlines?
I think we do. I think we have a.
As far as like with Manning and those
Mhm.
guys, there is nothing formal, however, with the Manning work comp. I drafted a memorandum of understanding that we're working together on, and as soon as we get to a point where we're all in kind of agreement, then I'll send it to John for his final review. But then that way I can use that one for a template for all four of the transports. That way everybody knows exactly what's gonna be taken care of by each entity.
Be nice. to have something written.
Yep.
Inside.
There was one drafted for Manning, but it was never signed by anybody, but I kind of took that and I adjusted it for the current needs. And
I don't feel I have an issue with this, so
Yeah, I'm really kind of surprised we haven't gotten this request
earlier.
Gene, is there any reason why? You were probably around when the other ones got there and,
I think it's because they were just a conditional transport,
okay,
and I think at that time, there wasn't as many on those on staff that there is now that are qualified.
they were
Because,
more-
because right now, back when I was on, they would call a first responder, and then there was the EMT. Well, now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you take a EMT, you're gonna spend the same amount of time as you would a first responder, so it's not even wise that you take first responder plus first.
Yeah, they have EMR and EMT. Hours involved as far as going between the two is fairly minimal. So I always try to push somebody to be an EMT because they have a larger scope of practice.
So that's kind of the reason.
Yeah.
why. Back when I was, most of us was first responder,
And the first responders cannot transport patient, whereas the EMTs can.
we were first responders. We could keep it.
yeah, I don't have any problem with it either.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion here?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we enter into a stipend agreement with the city of Templeton for
$6,000 annually.
annual.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Have a good rest of it.
You too.
All right, next item on the agenda is review, discuss community acknowledgement form for 232-890 250th Street in Glidden. And I think everybody received the letter from the DNR. Carrie's here this morning to explain a little bit more that part of this parcel is in a 100-year floodplain.
Yeah, so they want this community acknowledgement form signed that we acknowledge knowing that they used fill. to build up this area above the floodplain. I've never seen this form before. I'm not familiar with it. Obviously, I'm still learning the zoning job. I did talk to Dan, and he said it's really just making sure that you all understand. They did use fill here.
Did fill above the,
Yes, they went 2 feet above where so the DNR letter says what the level was. And then Dan's job was to go out there and make sure that it's above that, and it is, it's 2 feet above it,
Above the 100-year.
yes. But so this form is just basically regarding the use of fill.
I think it was a similar situation over in Maple River for a business over there as well.
And I'm not familiar with that
I
situation.
think there was a situation by Manning too, that one. that-
Yeah, I was gonna say the
That
one by
one,
Manning is the one.
commercial,
that-
now they wanna go to residential.
Yeah. I don't know, well,
That's different.
I reserve my comment on that.
So
But
I
yeah.
didn't want to sign it until I let you all have the opportunity to look it over. If you have more familiar, I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. With those situations, since you've already had a couple of them.
But so is this part of the building request?
They have not
You-
requested any building permit yet.
But that's what,
That's coming. Yeah, so this form gets signed, I send it back to Dan, Dan then sends it to FEMA. So there's still more in the process of just getting this part done
Takes 5 years to get the
before
house built.
the property owner comes for a building permit.
And they still wouldn't be able to do a basement. Because you'd be digging back down below.
I
Plan.
don't know anything about what their plans are to build there.
And it also gets them off flood insurance too. Probably gets them a bigger cut on flood
Yeah.
insurance.
but so you're requested to sign it as part of zoning or as part of?
That's where the
environmental?
floodplain is.
And this is states that they built above.
So as the environmental, I'm just concerned when they do build something, we don't want their septic system that's on fill or. in
Yeah,
floodplain.
That's gonna be in the
So
groundwater.
that'll come later.
I don't know Where that
I
does.
did get a
fit.
map that I don't think I included because I found it after the fact where the proposed house is supposed to be built.
So did you have a conversation with Dan or the potential new owners about that, having
I've not
concerns
talked
with?
to the new owners. I've talked to the previous owner of the property a little bit. Yeah. But I called Dan because I didn't understand what I was being asked to do.
I'm surprised that's in a flood plain there. There's that much water come down that little creek?
100 years, I mean. I don't know.
I can't
if they've
remember.
ever had the issue with that.
What in the floods of 93?
Yeah, okay.
Remember?
What's that?
I said in the floods of 93, if anybody remembers that, I don't know what that creek looked like, but. Doesn't really seem like there's any responsibility on our end besides Carrie signing the paper saying we've done our stuff and we realize that it's built up with fill.
Well, this
Formality, it
is,
sounds
this is actually on the west property, not the east property then.
What?
My
like. The house
is wrong.
location.
Yeah, see, I wasn't sure whether this was even included. In the
You
other
need the
map,
other
it's
map.
got the
Because,
box on
because
it.
he's selling off pieces too. huh?
Where's the box?
So You're looking at.
If you drive by it, you'll know, because there's a big, they expanded their driveway. It's a large driveway,
So the
But
house
see,
is actually over here.
It's here, it's one of
But it's
those
for
maps.
this
Are
one?
they the same? They're the
well,
same
see, he sold some off over here too. So there's two different parcels here.
So this is the piece in question, but the house looks like it's supposed to be over here according to that.
Well, so is he buying this piece and it makes sense.
Yeah, I only looked at the plot.
Yeah.
Well, as long as he's going up to above 2 foot. I don't see any issue with it.
So I mean, there's actually no action that the board takes then.
just allowing Carrie to sign the paper.
I just wanted you to know about it in case anybody had any objection. And because I've never seen the form before, and I knew hopefully
I've
somebody
seen-
would have some knowledge of the previous
We have done it a couple times.
I assume nothing has become problematic.
We haven't had a
Several years
100-year
after
flood
the
yet.
fact.
Well. I don't know, we had them a couple years
Did you
before.
see that look?
You don't recall, you don't recall.
I do too, 93.
Oh, okay.
I remember someone,
Nice try.
I thought there was like in that
No
mid
doubt.
93, there was water.
I
over
remember
that
we
road,
built a
but I-
lagoon down Telma to use the road got flooded.
South third.
Is this any issue that you would get involved with at
I
all?
don't think so, but I've never dealt with flood lines directly, but in past places, that far down the path, I don't think it's an issue. As long as everyone's on the same page.
It's right along 250.
Just the 50th is that.
So as long as they're raising above the flood, that's what's
Yeah,
happening.
Right,
That's
it's just this is
soon.
because they're using these built to do it.
Mhm.
Well, if you're saying that the house is gonna be built here, that isn't even close to the house.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Right here.
Well, there's two parcels that got split off there.
Yeah,
But if
Because
you raise
it-
one area,
because I
where's
think-
the water then go?
That one's done. This one is in works, yeah, from what I understand.
this one's completed.
So the
Yeah.
first one is done already?
The one that's transferred ownership, I thought, the second one,
Yeah, I think
It's not
that house,
officially done yet,
that's
from what I
been there a
understand.
while. Correct?
well, we put a driveway in for this one.
Yeah.
Like last summer, I think.
Nothing's built there yet, though.
No, but the property transferred, I believe.
Yeah, I know.
The
So
other,
is that
the other
so-
one, it didn't.
So do you think this one is considered in the floodplain then?
It's the other one is.
Well, you certainly think so, but
Yeah, it showed it on man. So they're gonna be coming with the same
Quite a
problem.
bit of area there that is, and I'm sure it is to the south too, along Zephyr, it's. That's mine.
Carrie, I ask you a question, and maybe you don't know, and I don't have a clue. This arm of the DNR that your visit that has signed off on this, is that the same arm of the DNR that would challenge a septic system? Or is that a different arm?
The DNR is not gonna challenge the subject.
Okay,
That's our job.
okay.
So the DNR has granted us the authority to deal with the
To
septic
do
on
it,
a
okay.
private home.
Okay,
So when we get a building permit, we'll have to do a perk test. I do look at floodplains and the soil maps to make sure we don't have a high water table or something. So if we have high water table, drain fields, which is what we typically use, are not usable because we
Yeah.
cannot put anything in the ground on top of a water table. So there are alternative technologies that are usable that are not soil based. And this may be one of those circumstances depending on what,
Advantage system.
yeah, they've been getting away from those Advantexes because they have so much additional maintenance. And so there are other systems that we've seen more of. So if we can't use drain field, and that's what we want to use first, if we can. If that's not a possibility, then we start looking at other things, but the DNR will not get involved with that at all.
okay. I didn't know if they would poke their head back in at the last minute and say, no, you can't do
No,
that.
that's entirely our responsibility.
Okay, very good.
Any more questions for Carrie? If not, I would recommend on the board, if everybody agrees, she signs the paperwork. the piece of paper. Send it back.
Okay with it.
It's not really our decision.
Thanks, Carrie, for bringing that.
All right, and just a heads up, we do have that public hearing tomorrow for Landis and Templeton tomorrow, 5:30 downstairs in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Zach with secondary roads. We have some utility permits, E19 project and approval of resolution 2022-001. SS4 grant application.
Good morning.
Oh,
Two utility permits.
My old age.
First one is for Raccoon Valley Electric.
Straighten you out.
This is Newton Township, section 4. Just north of Dedham, a little ways, basically getting service across 290th Street to an existing acreage. Be boring underneath the road. Just kind of like the standard ones that Recognize done quite a few here in the last couple of years.
Yeah, separate motions or together.
We probably do them together, we're both pretty separate, unless you want to do them separate. Any questions on that?
It's pretty straightforward.
Second one is about as straightforward for West Central Iowa Rural Water. This one is just northwest of Carroll on Kitty Hawk. Basically boring water across Kitty Hawk. I think this is Maple River.
Yeah.
Section 10 and 11. Just boring water underneath Kitty Hawk for new home.
Yeah, we just did the electrical on a couple weeks ago.
We did. We did.
I will make a motion to approve the 2 utility permits.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Next thing I had on the list was our E19 project completion. So this basically is certifying that we do have the project complete and everything is up to par, and basically paying the contractor their retainage left on the projects. This is the 2 miles of asphalt south of Lanesboro there. Paying them a retainage of a little over $13,000. The project went well and everything turned out good on that one. So I don't know if you have any questions on that project. Overall, I think it went really well. Definitely needed.
Did we widen that road at all? Increase the shoulder or not?
Earth and shoulder with granular on top. We did the earth shoulders ourselves first, and then granular shoulders were a part of the contract. We actually pulled it out and did that ourselves to try to save a little dollars. And I think it's about a 3-foot granular shoulder on it. It's definitely safer and a much better comfort level driving on that than what it used to be.
I'll make a motion that we approve the project completion of E19.
Okay.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Last thing I have is a resolution that talks about participation in this SS4A grant application. Basically, with the new federal transportation bill, there's some safety money, I'll call it, transportation money available. But you have to have a action plan, a safety action plan to be eligible to receive those dollars. There are some counties in the state that have those and some that don't. We currently do not. Even the counties that do have it, they're not tailored to the specifics that the feds are looking for. So basically the Iowa County Engineers Association is looking to get a grant to update and do local action safety plans for all 99 counties. And there are grant dollars available for that as well. So basically, that's what we're looking at today is trying to show support to the Iowa County Engineers Association and applying for this grant to be able to get these local road safety plans done for all the counties in Iowa, specifically Carroll for us. So I believe 80% of the dollars would be covered for this local road safety plan would be covered under this grant that they're trying to apply for each county. The other 20%, they are looking to use HSIP, which is Highway Safety Improvement Plan dollars. So it'd be a 0 cost to the county if this grant would go through. So
So how specific does that action plan have to be?
Um,
I mean, is that, I was just wondering if that's gonna be like a across every county in Iowa, if it's gonna be a boilerplate
I think,
plan that you just,
I think some of it's boilerplate, but I think there are specifics that they dial into certain areas. I don't know, we didn't have one in Sac and Calhoun where I was as well, so I don't know a lot about those. This is something new that just came out kind of the middle of last week. They started figuring out what was gonna have to happen, and that these local road safety plans were something that would have to be in place to be able to be eligible for other dollars. So I guess it's a good thing, there's dollars available. As is with all federal dollars, there's hoops to jump through, as in this case, there's a hoop to jump through to get to the hoop, so.
What's, from what I read on, it sounds to me like a good idea because it's gonna make it, there's no cost to us, so we can get into this program.
There's no really any downfall to having these local road safety plans. I know there's been some counties have expressed concern if it ties them to something from a liability standpoint, and what I found is that it doesn't. They've dug into that, and it doesn't tie you to that, so. I think I think the local road safety plan is not a bad idea, and the ability for that to allow us to open up the opportunity to get other grant funding will be beneficial, so.
well, I would think that just your job is basically for the safety and well-being of all individuals that travel the roads in Carroll County. I mean, so I don't think you're doing it anyway. You just don't have a plan to do it.
Yep, it's putting pencil to paper on some of this stuff, and it is somewhat of an extensive plan. I mean, I think the cost of these, to do these, and I think they generally have worked with the Iowa Traffic Safety Bureau for DOT, but the cost has been like $30,000 to $50,000 for each county to do
Do
these
that.
plans. So I mean, there is some time and effort involved in diving into traffic data and all that, so.
Any more discussion? If not, we're in order for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-010, the SS4A grant for the grant application.
I will second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. This will call.
Johnson,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rebels.
Yes.
Shetler.
Yes,
A motion carries.
Thank you. I like that. Thank you. That's all I had for today. Anybody else have any other questions, concerns, comments?
I see there's a note about that roadside management. Was you and Jason that sent somebody that, or?
I don't know.
I don't know why the conservation should be involved in that.
I don't know. I haven't talked to him about that. There's definitely opportunities there. I mean, there's lots of things out there, I think. How much beneficial in a 2-day conference or whatever it is, I'm not sure. I guess I need to dive into that a little bit further. I have not been to one in the past, but
yeah, I don't know how.
The thing is, especially if some of these federal monies come down, they start tying roadside management into a construction project, you might want to be, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's,
Somewhat aware of what's going on.
have you given any thought about going?
I really hadn't yet. I know I'd gotten the brochure on it probably 2 weeks prior. Saw it, but kind of backburnered it, I guess I'll say.
Well, I think it's normally a cost, and they're giving us two
Right.
slots for nothing. So it might be a good time to take advantage of it.
Mhm. And then my guess is that's part of the deal, trying to get involvement and trying to get people.
And I'm just thinking that if, like, this money comes out from the feds, there could be some tie-ins to some of that stuff.
There definitely could be. I think their biggest focus is on safety. Now, how that ties into the roadside, sometimes that's a Sometimes it's beneficial, and sometimes there's probably detriments to that, depending on what you're doing, so.
I just bring up some, make sure that we're.
Absolutely.
It's up to you guys, but. All right,
The Maple River Mount Carmel thing, we're gonna wait until kids get back to school so that we can have better attendance.
Okay.
It's tough to line it up, and I think we'll just have to set dates. Whoever can show up.
Send it out.
Yeah.
Or put it on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sam.
If the board is okay, I'd like to move item number 7, since they're here, to technically right now. That's all right.
not a problem there.
So they don't have to do. All right,
Sure will.
you're just living it.
Oh.
All right, next up is St. Anthony Regional Hospital tax exempt bonds, and we are going to be discussing resolution 2022-0011, set public hearing and approve memorandum of agreement. Good morning.
Morning.
How
So
are you?
Eric Solomon, the CFO at St. Anthony, and I'd like to introduce Alan Anderson, who's the new CEO. Taking over for us. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
He's starting week 6, so.
I do want to point out that we set a hearing at the last meeting. You can disregard that because what they want us to do is do this resolution that actually sets the public hearing.
Oh,
Okay, so we
Gotcha.
kind of got ahead of ourselves, but
Got that.
not a big deal.
Got the card out in front.
Well, I just want to make sure we didn't like fall behind, but this resolution will actually set the hearing date, which I believe is August 22nd. So.
And a lot of this is just following our bond attorney. There's a strict process to follow. We're just kind of relying on her, and we appreciate Courtney for working with us through that whole process. She's been really easy to deal with and helpful, so. I think this initial public hearing is just to set the actual public hearing for the 22nd, and then authorizing the memorandum of agreement, which just basically states that the county is agreeing to issue in the future these tax exempt bonds, and then St. Anthony will incur all costs associated with that process. So there's $0 out of pocket for the county for this, and that's in the gist of what's occurring today.
Any other more questions?
That's basically the same format we did the last time.
Yeah, exactly. We'll follow that to the T. And as a reminder, this is for our OB renovation and also our dialysis unit renovation. So,
If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we authorize the resolution 2022-011, set the public hearing, approved memorandum of agreement.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Ruggles.
Yes.
Shetler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. That's all we need to do.
easy, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet all of you
Yes.
and see you around.
Steph, there's a couple places
Hope
here
so.
for you to sign. I might just wait till after the meeting because I gotta figure out which pages.
Yeah, that's fine.
Feel free to reach out again. That sounds great.
I
That sounds
can
great.
if you
I
want.
know
a signed copy,
Yeah, and I tried to
sure.
sit down last week, but there was no.
He texted me, and I'm like, I was up fishing and there was no meeting.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And he's traveling this week, so that's why he's not.
Well, it's
here.
nice to meet you.
Nice, thank you.
Take care.
All right, the next item on the agenda is to approve payables.
Conservation had a large expenditure. Time around.
Yeah, they buy a used one or?
No, they bought it. That's new. It's an one of those mini excavators.
Oh, okay,
It replaces their backhoe.
okay, it's like the
Yeah.
Bobcat.
Yeah, one of those little ones. So they thought they would be able to use that considerably more than they would use the backhoe. And as far as moving snow and stuff, they got that new skid loader, that tracks skid loader that they're,
So they had that in their budget.
is in their budget.
Is this our last year for the 5,000 for the renovation to the library?
I don't know. I will have to look at the sheet. And then pop the sheet.
By year.
think it might be
I
next
don't
month.
know how long that's been there. It might be,
We gotta be getting close.
yeah.
Yeah.
As time gets away from you, I'm gonna say it's at least 4 years, but
I know this is gonna be a completely random question, but. So does the office staff just come up here and then go to each individual department and ask if they need supplies? Cause I see on here, the treasurer had pens for $170. And then the. Recorder has pads for $25. I just don't know what's the process?
This is the last. payment. For the
this would be the fifth.
I knew it was 23 and I'm thinking,
Well, they split
It's
it
next
on the
year,
office.
but-
More than it.
They split it between offices.
Well, whichever office orders that they get certain supplies, I suppose that's why it's even individual. But you ask for.
So the office staff, I just see every once in a while I see. Payments being made, which is fine for the supplies, but. Does there a representative that comes up and like for the treasurers, they ordered $170 of pens and then like in the recorders, I saw a legal pad for $25. Or do you just order as needed?
I assume they'll order as needed.
Because I'm assuming you probably get envelopes and things like that too, right?
Yeah, and we
You
all,
get those
each
from
office
Stone's
gets their own,
probably, yeah.
each office handles their own supplies.
Okay.
I'm not sure, it used to be both of the office staff and Stone would have a rep come around. With COVID, they kind of quit doing that.
Yeah. I was just curious how that worked.
They probably got pens from their last time and. I don't know. Seems like a lot of pens.
I would think over there, they probably have a lot of people that
Walk away.
walk away, just
So
because
you
they have so.
Can you give them those pens that you got? With the election?
Well, I paid for those and we use those at our counter. We just don't use them as frequently.
How many do you have?
Oh, I don't know. But you gotta remember, those pens do go out to the polling places and we don't always get those
Yeah,
back.
right.
either, but-
Yeah.
A lot of them have feet on the bottom.
Yeah, and I found that if we use the cheapest pens we can find, they tend to stick around, if you use any nicer pens, something. And I don't think people do it intentionally at
No.
all. I just think,
Right.
they
Well,
find
that-
they use
that
it and they
writes
just-
nice and-
Yeah. So, and I'm assuming that's quite a few pens for that kind of money.
That was my only question.
I see we had, what, 3 bills from food service for,
Yeah,
Did
that's
they-
explained by, they have a new billing person and they were sending the bill to the wrong email. And so Perry was not getting the food
Okay, so
bills.
we
So
got
those are
back, yeah.
past due bills.
okay.
We probably will have to do a budget amendment because 2 of those I think are for like May and June. And they weren't, or maybe
Oh.
even April and May, and they
Fiscal
should have
year.
been paid last fiscal year, so he may run a little short. This fiscal year, because we had to pay some back ones, no fault of the sheriff's department at all, but they just weren't getting them.
He had told me that he just had not remembered a email coming through on it, so he
Yeah.
started double checking and it's like, they haven't, so he emailed them and, well, they had the new company had the wrong email
And
address.
and when you get busy and you don't, you assume that they're gonna send you your bill, and you don't always
Yeah.
remember to like.
Yep.
Look at it, but yeah, so we may need to do an adjustment, but. That's
Well-
why there's so many.
This is a fairly light
Mhm.
bill day at around $500,000 and.
494,000.
And we got Zach under 55, under 56,000.
He's still here.
And before he makes any, submits any more, I'll make a motion to approve the payables.
I will second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve the class
Second least offender this week.
from Mark Calder. Any questions?
They're just splitting her up.
Yeah. It's like just-
I make a motion, we approve the plat for today.
I'll second that motion.
Been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve Class C liquor license for the Carroll Country Club. Looks like they're wanting to do outdoor service and Sunday service.
I'll make a motion to approve. For Carroll Country Club liquor license.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve the fiscal year 22 county substance abuse prevention and treatment report. And this is, I don't know if everybody remembers, but we get these yearly.
Quarterly.
It's, I was gonna say it's.
Is it quarterly?
Yeah.
I thought we just did this.
Yeah,
Well, we
yeah,
did the one for the new year.
Okay.
So, and this is just the 22 report, kind of showing numbers and whether or not they did the projects as they anticipated, et cetera.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY 22 county substance abuse prevention and treatment report.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve fiscal year 23 engagement letter for audit services.
Courtney, you happy with the auditor?
I am, and I did a little checking just to see kind of what the fees have been. So in fiscal 18, we used the state. The bill was $43,050. 19, we also used the state $46,365. 20 was the first year we used Romwell, and it was 25,500. And then for 21, it was 28,700. We have not gotten the bill for 22 yet, but you can see it's significantly less than the stuff. So I'm very been happy with them.
So this letter of engagement is for 3 years or?
This
Or
one is
annual.
for 23. For them to do the 23 audit.
Here you can have it.
Because I think.
Yeah,
I think originally we did a 3-year, didn't we?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
think so.
I don't
because-
say, I think we were gonna do it year by year.
Well, I think we wanted to make, that first year, we wanted to make sure that we're okay with them.
We like them.
Yeah, and then we would go forward.
And then we have following year and then.
Yeah,
Yeah, this letter states it's just for the services.
Well, the
for
problem is,
22.
a lot of audit firms won't do government stuff anymore
No, it is harder
because of
to
those
find,
federal audits.
and we will have to have one of those because of the
Single
recovery
audit,
dollars.
what they call them, single audit.
A lot of them don't like to do governmental services. There's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Well, this is the same outfit, it doesn't have. They do a good job out there. And we-
There's Region 12 uses a gentleman from Wall Lake. He has sold that business to a young person.
Tomorrow.
And that young person has expressed interest in doing governmental type work, but he was in his first year, so I think I'd let him get his feet wet first before we ask him for a quote, you know. But he'll be doing like Region 12 and those kind of sizes, but to do actual count. I don't know, he may not have interest in doing cities or counties. He may just stay with governmental agencies.
Well, they're doing another one, there's one up north that does the winter stage, and the other one, but I don't know what that does.
Well, they're the ones that wouldn't give us a quote because they were related to somebody on one of the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
Winter stage,
The firm up by, is it Ida Grove? Because we were gonna get a quote from these guys and the state and then that firm. I thought it was Ida Grove. I thought they're the ones that did, the S Center.
that's winter stage, isn't it? But I don't think they're out that high to grow though.
I might have
Emmitsburg.
town wrong, but
Uh,
the other quote we were
What about
gonna get
Cherokee?
had a
Cherokee.
relationship with somebody. Yeah,
Oh, Hudson.
yeah. They were related to somebody, either a board of supervisor or another elected official. So they didn't even quote us.
That name sounds familiar.
but I don't remember who they were related to.
Did it count in this one?
I don't even think they said.
Go back there.
State-
Anyway, so
The state, there's one that can't do it here neither.
now,
I've got a goddaughter that works for the state.
well, they probably just wouldn't send her.
That's right.
So I did want to show you that if they continue to be less.
Yeah, they're
Sometimes you
running
get
about-
somebody low and then,
They're around about 2/3 of what the state approximately.
but sometimes you have a year and it's like, oh, that's a lot less. And then, the next year it's like, whoa.
So
Yeah, they
you
catch
you
up
think they
back.
dig into as well as the state?
Well, I think so. I think they do everything they're required to do. They definitely spent less time on the ground here. And we did a lot more by email, which saves us money. By doing it that way. I prefer it that way because it's hard to do my job and when they're here.
Less disruption.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure they're more comfortable working in their own office when we can just send them, but they are here for, I believe, a week. And they actually put hands on things and they're going out to different departments and stuff, so. I feel they're doing a good job and they have to send in, the audit to the state and the state has to review it and. We've had no issues with what they've been submitting.
Do they
as far
pay
as
for that
audit.
review fee then? Or
We do.
We do. The
It's about
review fee,
$875.
which we're out that no matter how we look at it.
Well, I'm sure the state probably,
Bid it into
you
there.
don't, obviously, if the state does your audit, you don't pay that fee. Because they're already reviewing it, but,
They wouldn't review their own work.
no, I mean, but,
Shouldn't be any reason.
They
to do
should
that.
maybe.
Well.
Yeah.
I
But the
would
nice
assume
thing
there
is
should
that-
be no reason that they should be doing.
the state state auditor's office still sees our audit. They review our audit. And we haven't had any issues. The last 2 years, we've not gotten anything from them, other than the first year I didn't pay them the right amount for the review, but that was my fault.
I guess my only concern was from the beginning was whether or not, there would be adequate oversight, as far as expenditures.
Mhm.
That would be a red flag, and I think the state was pretty good about that, finding those things. And does that mean that Board of Health can now have meals again?
That's gonna be up to the department head.
But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I think the audit you always got dinged on was.
We
how
did.
come-
The awareness, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing is,
how come they're always, how come Board of Health is getting meals?
the thing is when you do those kinds of things, you have to ask the question, what's the public benefit?
Yeah.
If they're having a meeting, what's the public's benefit? Just giving them lunch. Now, if it's an open meeting and it's open to the public, there should be no reason you can't have food at that meeting. As long as you have food available to the public as well. I just think it was, it got to be kind of they were ordering subs and everybody had their own order and.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be. Yeah, and I know that the preceding auditor dealt with that too.
Yeah, we did get dinged on it. I remember that.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, I think they still even the review, now they had some things in this. If there's no other questions, I'd make a motion that we sign the engagement for fiscal year 23 for audit services.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve fiscal year 22 salaries for publication.
You reviewed this, Courtney, and
Yeah.
feel comfortable everybody's on.
yeah, I'm the one that prepared it, so
Okay.
I hope it's
I agree.
accurate.
Just
It
gonna
came-
question
Came
your work.
directly from the payroll system, so there
Okay.
shouldn't be any discrepancies as far as dollars.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year salaries for publication. That Courtney provided for us.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. The next items on the agenda is interfund transfers. We have one coming from Maple River Watershed Fund 8100 to Local Option Fund 0019.
Not watershed, wastewater.
Wastewater.
Fund.
My bad.
I don't, if I could have somebody's hard copy, I apparently didn't give myself any.
We also have another one from Mount Carmel Wastewater Fund 8,000 to Local Option Fund 0019.
I'm sure y'all remember we do these every year,
Yep.
so they can pay back their loans.
How many years does that one?
Lots, 25 to 30. I think.
We just read.
The Maple River one's gonna be a little longer.
2 years. I think we went back up to a 25.
Yeah,
That time.
Mount Carmel's would be paid off. Quicker than Maple River.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the, which one are we doing first? The Maple River one.
Sure.
Resolution two. Wait a minute.
There's no numbers.
There's no
Yeah, there
numbers.
These are interfund ones. so-
Oh, yeah, there's two.
Interfund.
So is it the 2013 reserves fund?
That's the resolution that authorized the debt back in 2013. There's no resolution numbers on interfund transfer resolutions.
Okay.
So this is just the transfer from
Move.
Maple River to local option.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a
It's easier
second
for all.
resolution.
Roll
I
call,
agree.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Ruggles.
Yes.
Shetler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do you want us to sign these?
I'll pass these around.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the interfund transfer from Mount Carmel wastewater fund to local option fund.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, roll call.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Ruggles.
Yes.
Shetler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. I'll pass this one around too.
All right, the next item on the agenda is manure management annual updates. We have two of them. For PNP Farm, section 26, Nice Township, no changes. And Obman, did I say that right? Obman? Obman, finisher, section 7, Wheatland Township, and they are doing the original plan. Anybody wants to go into committee reports? I can do mine quick, I guess. I had the newspaper and radio last week, and I do not have any upcoming for this week. 2 weeks ago.
I will go next. On the 20th, I did a Rolling Hills Zoom. I was at the state tournament in softball, so I decided not to drive the whole steam, and I couldn't make it in a half hour, so I did a Zoom. The only thing that of any significance there was approval of a second year of a 3-year contract. So that had already been decided, the amount was the same, so. And then on 21st, I attended the Partnership for Families, the original meeting, just mostly an informational meeting. 22nd, I did go to the Shrek open house for Greg Shrek. And being fire chief here in Carroll for many, many years. Just congratulate people that want to put that kind of time and effort into an appointment of that nature. I'm open in the upcoming week. The only other thing I want to bring to the board's attention, and I already have Stephanie, I called her about it as soon as I got the email. I had an email from Katie in Coon Rapids. They are holders of a couple of different grants. There's some opportunity, I think, in front of them to look at some bicycle trail improvements, additions, however you want to look at it, from the city of Herndon to Baird. The railroad has kind of signed off on all this. I don't know what their grants consist of. I don't know how much money they're talking about. I know that there's several infrastructure issues there that's going to cost them a lot. But
And that's all Guthrie County.
it's pretty much all Guthrie. That, yeah, in fact, it is, the Dallas County quits right at Herndon, yeah, so, yeah. So it would be all Guthrie. But there is some opportunity possibly in the future, long ways in the future, that trail could be connected to the trail system here. There's a lot of hoops jumped through, a lot of time involved. So my question to Stephanie was, being none of us are guaranteed being here, nor some of us may not want to be here. We maybe should look at maybe someone like Jason Christensen. That's a longtime employee that has a great knowledge of trails to attend these meetings if you could or would, or a combination of supervisor and him. However we want to do it. I just know that by sending the letter, I thought maybe I see there's one from Jeff Antover laying here on the board table this morning too. And I just think it'd be something that's worthwhile
Didn't we
of
get
getting
that
somebody.
email to us too?
What's that?
Didn't we get an email on this too? I don't think I did. I've seen it before.
On the trail?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Well,
I just got your email.
I sent it
Yeah.
to her, and the only
Yeah.
reason I sent it to her
That's
is
one
is
that I'm
trying to
looking at.
find out what we should do. And I
Yeah.
immediately thought of.
I thought Jason would be a great.
He has
person.
good
Keep on
knowledge.
top of that,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's gonna affect him. I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, that, that conversation has been had already. White Rock, I know, is really involved in that, and.
Yep.
And, to get that trail from here to Coon Rapids isn't. How you gonna do that,
I know. Yeah.
so,
That's a futuristic
Yeah.
thing that may or may never happen.
yeah, well, yeah,
You can't say never, because that's a long time.
follow,
I'm not trying to.
brushy,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's been part of the conversation, and the Herndon thing, I mean, they still have Coon Rapids to Baird, still have the railroad.
Still
It's
in
not, it's
operation,
still in operation, so you gotta get from
there to
Coon
there
Rapids to Baird.
until that closing happens. And
Yep.
send time, because you know as well as I do, after it closes, it takes time for them
Yeah.
to maneuver.
And then there's some of that ground is owned by individuals now, that which has been abandoned. And there's been some real issues on whether or not those individuals,
They can get them back.
I
yes,
think there's one right there where you turn off, to go to Guthrie Center, right to the northeast.
yeah. I think
Well,
there's some real issues
I can
there,
tell, I can
so,
go down there and point them all out, but
yeah,
there are also some big structure problems. I know there are 3 or 4 creeks that the bridges are gone. There's Highway 4 that they're gonna have to deal with, yet that underpass has been closed. So
Yeah,
there's some. hoops to jump through.
yeah, we won't be around.
So that's why I think it'd be better off to keep the Conservation Commission on that board, long run, whether Jason was still here or he's gone, at least his present.
And the other conversation that was to go from Coon Rapids to Manning. There has been that conversation as
Yeah.
well,
And
to connect to the Audubon Trail, and,
And there's talk when we did 71, going down the side of it.
Don had responded to this before I sent it to Stephanie, that they would be interested in attending that meeting also, and I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
At least attending.
so I mean, there's a lot of talk.
I hate to
But
push
you
it
have,
off.
but you have to start somewhere,
Yep.
you know,
That's right. I hate to push it off from this board, but
no, I think it's a good idea. to do
I just
that.
think that
I think it's a good choice that, and Jason can keep us abreast.
I'll have to buy Jason lunch sometime for pushing it off on him, but that's easy to ask. So with you guys, I think Dean, would you want to take a hold of that?
Yeah,
And make
I
sure
can
Jason can
Yes.
move forward with that. And if anybody here on the board would like to attend those meetings, I just cover, have Jason copy them in. Just let Jason know.
What do you got coming up?
Nothing this week. I have a quiet week. This is the last week of the month.
Then I'll go next. I had the Conservation Board meeting on the 11th, which was canceled because of the storm that went through. On the 15th, we had the North Raccoon Water Management Authority meeting at quarterly meeting at Swan Lake. Nothing really new there. Just how the funding is gonna go there. The next week, I just took a few phone calls. Otherwise, not much on between the 18th to the 22nd. This week, I've got a Board of Health meeting on Wednesday. That's it for me.
I'll go next. On the 12th, we had our landfill executive monthly meeting. I did not attend Farm Bureau last Tuesday. This week, I have Board of Adjustment tomorrow. For the Templeton, yeah.
So I need to go next, huh? Okay, on the 14th, I did go on the ISAC webinar on the net opioid settlements. And John is our lead on that, isn't he?
Yes.
Has he signed off on that to get that money?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, it sounds like we're about 16,000 is supposed to be our first payment. So I did sit in on that. And then on the 15th, we had a executive board meeting on new opportunities. Basically just in regard to change some policies in regard to changing our illness policy. Basically due to market, to hiring people. Upon hire, they will get 1 day a month, starting the day of employment. Just because they say a lot of people don't want to switch because, well, if I got these kids and they get sick, I don't have a day of sick leave. So we're pushing it up to start that. The other thing is that we're also looking at if we get an employee referral that to hire, they will get a stipend based after 90 days of employment. And that is just through this year. And that's $1,000 deal. And then on the 20th, I did sign documents for new opportunities through United Way of Central Iowa. And I think that was it. And I have nothing this week as of this point. Oh, one other thing I was going to mention. Did you guys see the email we got from ISAC about human trafficking?
Yeah, I did read that.
They're wanting us to sign or join on that group. Doesn't like cost us anything or anything like that. So something we need to consider. You might want to think about putting on the agenda.
So did they want a resolution?
I think it's just a support letter.
Letter of support. I think so.
Courtney, do you have anything for next week?
No. But I wanted the 8th is when the, the 8th is when that gal was gonna come in, about funding for the cemetery in Dedham. Talked about this a little while ago. I did a little checking on that. The cemetery is actually owned by the city of Dedham.
Oh.
Just a little FYI. So, they're still gonna come in because,
I never heard about this.
so there's a gal that is interested in getting some funding to fix some markers in the cemetery, south of Dedham. And she, stated that the county should have money to help with this project. And she wanted to request dollars. So she's gonna come in on the 8th of August. But I thought the township probably owned the cemetery, but the deed holder is the city of Dedham.
Yeah, it's just like cemetery in Breda. I mean,
Yeah.
City cemetery,
Or
church.
But I don't have anything. for
Well, the thing
person.
is,
So when she go to the city for funding.
if you start that, you're gonna have a lot of them.
You very well could.
You know,
The
and
thing
it
is the county does have probably more dollars at their disposal to do things like this with than say the city of Dedham. But I mean, that's obviously gonna be a board decision whether or not you're gonna choose to do that. Because like you said, it could have possibly opened up.
Townships allowed to.
They do levy, and that, you know, I think we had that, Merrill Witt called me about the township cemetery north of Arcadia. During the centennial that they had, they wanted to make some facelift. Well, what do you have in your budget? Well, not enough money.
And
So-
thing is, I looked at that township's budget, they don't levy for the cemetery, and oh, that's weird. So then I looked to see who owned the cemetery, and it's owned by the city of Denver.
That's
So
why
the
the
township
township doesn't
it
levy
because they don't
for it,
own it,
because they don't know.
But
which,
the city, there, in their budget, there is a place they can levy for.
yeah, and I'd have to look at the city's budget. to
And
see.
and the townships also.
Yes, and so I.
And like, I know what we did in Templeton down there, they had a bunch of them that they kind of did themselves, so we volunteered, people volunteered to kind of jack them straight and did whatever we could to them, but, you know, you're gonna be going all around all the cemeteries.
Yeah, I think Eden Township had like, they've got like 3 or 4 cemeteries. And they have, their budget is like $5,000. I mean, it's the biggest one of anybody in the county.
They mow for it. They
Yeah,
have somebody mowing it all the time.
yeah. So, I mean, that's the process. You know, I told Merle, you know, well, if you want to do something, well, can we borrow some money from the
To
county
do it
to
now.
do it now, so, and then
And levy
budget
later?
levy, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if you got somebody who wants to donate some dollars and then maybe reimburse that individual, maybe you can do that, but otherwise, then you can levy for it later.
Do you know what their max levy is? Or is there a max?
There's,
There is,
I don't know
I
what it
can't
is.
tell you off the top of my head.
but there is a,
I wanted to mention one more thing. I forgot to bring this up, but legislative recommendations, if you guys have a recommendation, they're due by the 29th of this week. And we are set to meet in Des Moines on the 11th for that. So just a heads up.
also, I get this, just for conversation, we did have another insurance meeting. I'm reaching out, I tried to reach out to Clark last week and he was gone out of the office. Didn't ask for vacation. I didn't leave a message. I'm gonna try to get a hold of him today. In fact, there's a reminder just went off, so we can get those questions to him.
Yeah, we had a good meeting.
Yeah, we're slowly making process, work here. Once again, and this is kind of not really insurance, but it's kind of a handbook thing, because we're also looking at handbook things. Timesheets. Timesheets are a big deal, and Courtney, we continually to get it. If you look at our audit this year, you'll find it in there again.
I think we need to start looking at a system because it's time we take care of it and not have it show up in our audit.
Well, even if you have a system, you're probably gonna have some reluctance from one.
Well,
Also.
yeah, and they're okay, like right now, the departments that are turning in timesheets, we get, most of them are like an Excel spreadsheet. And they'll have the hours listed in there,
It's
and
real easy to do.
the department head is supposed to sign off on those as well as the employee. I think in your department, don't they turn them into you and then you guys put them on one big sheet? So, I mean, each department does things a little differently, but they're okay with that system, doing it that way. I don't care, it's fine with me, it's worked, but we just people don't turn them in. That's where we run into trouble.
So
January 1, we're gonna hold the paycheck, the pay period. Did
Yeah,
we,
we
Was
kinda
that, I thought that
talked
was
about
next year. No,
Yeah, we talked a little bit
but I
about
thought
that.
we didn't put a firm date on.
We
now,
haven't done that.
because
yet.
it's gonna take a hoop to jump through.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be tough on employees.
So how long are we gonna keep?
I know
Kicking it
that,
down the road.
and that's
Well,
the other
yeah.
side of the coin, Scott.
Yeah.
Yes, how long?
I mean, because if I were an auditor and she's paying somebody on a Friday for hours that they need to complete yet on that Friday, I would say that's.
We have had people that have walked away from employment on Wednesday and we paid them through
I know,
Friday.
that's what, I
So,
think if I was an
yeah.
auditor, that would be a red flag.
oh, yeah.
Oh, it is, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and what we're doing, I mean, Pocahontas County, I got a sample of what they put in their handbook, and it basically just states you have to turn in your timesheet on such and such a day in order to be paid on this day. If you don't get paid. However, we are still required to pay people for the time they work, so obviously they would get, as soon as those timesheets were turned in, they would get paid on the next paycheck. In order to do that, though, we have to switch to paying 2 weeks behind. And that's what we run into.
How many counties pay current like we do? So
I haven't ran into any yet
we're the only one.
So-
that's-
that I've
Hasn't-
talked to. I mean,
hasn't
there may
done
be some
homework.
out there.
It'd be nice if we got a standardized time record if they could just like, but it's, and I know not everybody's got a computer in front of them, but you know, like someone, they sign on the computer, it goes on. And I'm not sure there's no way we can do it with these.
Well, the problem we
Everybody's
run
got one,
into is
yeah.
if we're gonna require our employees to log in on their own personal device, then we're looking at having to reimburse them.
You're
for
have to
using their own,
compensate them for their personal device.
Which. I mean, that wouldn't be the end of the world, but there would be more costs. There should be costs to having that program. There should be costs to reimburse.
And,
Well,
and
there's
also,
There's also cost of getting a paycheck. Maybe if they
Well,
want a paycheck, then
Well,
sign
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
the biggest cause they have is then without the rest, the contents on this
Become public record.
becomes public record. You gotta
Well-
remember that.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
and our software has a system, it's like ES&S timesheet. We can actually submit timesheets through our software. We didn't get that package when we got our software because of the way we do payroll here. But I don't see any problem with the timesheets the way they are now. They're being signed by the employee, they're being signed by the department head. That seems fine to me.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of them, they have the fob too, when they come to the door, they just swipe it,
Yeah.
if the door's open, that checks them in that they're checked in for time.
Yeah.
You know,
and the other thing is when they log into their computer.
Mhm.
Or when they log off.
Yeah, it would definitely work.
When
for
I
some
worked at West
departments,
Central,
for
that's
sure.
what we did, we logged in on. Actually, it wasn't on our own computer, but they had a computer set up there where you come in and you logged in.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
It'll be a definite change whenever we do it, but
Yeah.
Well, and you know, the big thing is gonna be the 2-week thing.
yeah.
That's gonna be the big change. And that's
Because,
gonna be,
You
I
know,
thought we were giving them a notice like last December, that a year from now.
I-
Well, we haven't set.
no, we haven't had, that's gotta be an
Okay.
agenda item.
Well, we
that
have
needs
to,
be
we would have
discussed.
to, we're gonna have to.
And we,
amend our-
Because I think
we
we're gonna-
kicked it around a minimum of 6 months notice.
Yeah.
Thing is-
Oh, I think
And we're
it's-
thinking of doing it during the summer months. Because
Like
with
a fiscal year
Christmas and
start.
Thanksgiving and you maybe at a fiscal year beginning. Or the tail end of one fiscal year.
Because we will have to amend our handbook in order to do that, because when you look at
Correct.
it, it talks about the pay periods and it says current. You know, won't affect any part-time employees we have, they're already 2 weeks behind. So, it won't affect them,
Right.
but it will affect everybody that's full-time salary. And I mean,
And we kicked around.
and it's
the-
gonna affect everybody that.
You know,
This is
one of
very,
the other things you
you
could
know.
do, would it be possible to make it a, to help transition? Do a partial payment,
You could,
We talked about doing a
Yeah.
1 week stipend.
you know, just
or
make a, it'd be a
Our flat fee stipend. To help, but then
Like-
that's gonna make a,
percentage of what their estimate.
it's
would be.
gonna make a lot of hoops to jump through.
It
For
would be a
about the
pain.
first month,
it would be a pain,
but
but
after that, it'll be smooth sailing.
you could say, on the 15th, instead of them getting nothing. You could set a fee, you know, and say, okay, we're gonna give everybody $500 or give
Or
everybody.
50% of your estimate.
The only thing is when the 30th comes and they're used to getting their full check, they're gonna get,
50%.
And
so I mean, you're just kind of pushing the problem down the
Yeah.
road.
you get car payments, house payments, insurance.
But I mean, it
payments,
would
lots
be,
of
if we
things
give them
to come
something to
due.
flow through, the people that live on check to check.
Or you
Yeah.
could make it, you know, people could maybe sign up for that, you know, it's like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, if you think you're gonna need something, you know, we could maybe have people sign up or off on whether or not they wanna
Cut
do
down
that.
some of.
Maybe
the
there'll
flow.
just be a few people that needed to do
Get
that.
an
and-
advance type thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever have any people request advances?
Well, I think, you know, you guys keep working through your guys' group, when we need to, at some point, put it on the agenda and have that discussion.
Yeah,
I think we need to.
yeah, I think the group that we have is kind of, and we've talked about it, but we recognize.
But
the
you use your
hardships that are
time sheets
gonna
off to split up the labor in different projects.
We're all in different boats.
Yeah, well, everything's goes by DOT code, but everything we do has DOT code, so.
Ben, is there anything online? Or Dalton?
No comment online.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion and a second, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Yes, I agree.
Ben, how many people did we have observing today?
You're after her.
It was up to 10, but right now it's 5.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah, you